Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. In this video, we are going to create an Azure SQL database and then we are going to connect to it from our local machine. This video is a part of a series called as Software Engineering Bootcamp where we are doing multiple things related to software engineering. Why exactly Azure SQL database is something which I have covered in another video, in the previous video, where I have covered various use cases and then we have concluded that Azure SQL database will fit in our need. So you can go through the doc, go through the pros and cons, and these things generally depend upon the use cases. So let's quickly get started. To create an Azure SQL database, of course, you need a valid account in Azure. So you go there and create an account. Then what you can do is go to create resources. So let's click on the create resource and then we'll click on SQL because we want to create a SQL database. So we'll click on SQL and it will give you multiple options. You can click on Azure SQL and then click on create. And then here it will ask multiple things. So what we need is a single database here. So we'll use the single database option, which will be the simplest one. And let's click on create single database. Now here it will ask us bunch of options. You can accordingly, whatever name you want, you can have the resource. And the database, we can have something like eCommerce. So what we have is a database, and within the database server, we have the database. So we can click on create new, and then here we can give backend, or we can give eCommerce, the server name, and then we can use SQL authentication. It has multiple types of authentication, but we'll use simple authentication. I'll use some password which I can remember. So I'll choose my own password and I'll put something which I can remember. You can put whatever you want to, but you should be able to remember. So we'll use eCommerce Anubhav, or it should be available overall, the domain. So let's create OK, so that it can create the database server for us. Now coming to this place, we have the database server. We can name it the backend DB for now, and then elastic pool, we don't need elastic pool. So it's showing us the estimated compute cost of 22,000. We don't want that much, so we need to reduce the cost. How do we reduce the cost? You see the compute plus storage. This is something which decides the cost, and we will use the development mode, which will be again cheaper, and then we'll click on the configure database option. So here we should get multiple configurations, and we'll use something which is the cheapest one. So we already have this option, and you see it's 398 rupees now. For the 398 rupees, I'm still okay to spend around 390 rupees a month. We are using serverless, all the cheapest option, 1 core and 0.5 virtual CPU core. Those should be okay for me because the size of the database is small. The moment you increase these things, the value will change. I'll just click on apply here, and then locally redundant is something I'm fine with. There are multiple other options, I don't need them. We'll click on next. Right now the cost is this one. I need public endpoint, and then I need Azure resources to access to the machine. And then I'll add my current IP in the network layer so that I can access it. And then the connection policy, the default is fine, and the encryption, I don't want to change anything in the encryption. So now we'll click on security. We don't need any of the things which can increase our cost. Everything looks okay for us, and then we'll click on next, and it asks for a use existing data. We don't need existing data. And the maintenance window is 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. Nowadays, many companies have started to ask for the maintenance window, especially for the paid, the cheaper options. So you can add key and value pairs, just helps you to search for the resources. And then we'll click on review and create. So here we'll click on create. It will validate everything in the previous pages, and if everything is okay, then it will actually create my resource. So you see everything was fine here, and then it should start creating my resources. So remember that the cost can keep on bubbling up for you if you don't pause your resource. So in the previous screen you saw 398 was a fixed cost, and then there was some cost for the compute resources per I think per minute or per second, something like that. So what I'll keep in mind is that after the tutorial, I'll shut this database down. So this is something which you also need to do so that you don't incur cost when you are not using the database. Now what we can do is that click on go to resource, and you can see this is the server name, that's the first one, and then we have the database name. So both of these things are available. We already have the username with us. So now what we'll do is that we'll go to our Windows machine and try to connect to this database. So I am in my Windows machine, and to connect to the database, what you can do is that you can install the SQL Server Management Studio. So you go to the internet and then search for SQL Server Management Studio. It will give you a link. Then you can click on the link, reach here, and then here you can download the SQL Server Management Studio. So it will be downloaded. It's straightforward to install. Just the installer will be downloaded, and then you just need to do next, etc. And the things will be downloaded, and then you can install it. So you will reach here, and here you need something like server name and the authentication. So we'll go to the Azure portal to get the server name. This is the server name which I need to connect. So I'll paste the server name here, and then the login was Anubhav, and the password is something which is known only to me. So let me do that, and then I'll click on connect. Let's see, we should be able to connect to the database. If we are not, then we might have to open some ports or network settings, but I see we are able to connect. Now let's wait for the things to expand, and then we have the database name backend available here. So now in the database we can run bunch of queries. Here you can see there would be some default tables, but then we need to create some tables for our use case, and we can click here new query, and then we can write some of the queries we want to. So for example, I'll just write select one so that we can ensure that everything is fine. So select one, and then we'll run this query. You see we are getting the data. So in this particular video, we were able to create the database, and we were able to connect to the database. In the next video, we'll create some of the tables in this particular database by having the create column. So create calls. So these were some of the tables which we discussed in the previous video, that we need tables called as users, inventory, cart, and order. So we'll create the tables in the database with these names and the columns, as you can see, and then from there we'll connect to the database using the Java code as well. So yeah, the journey will continue, but I think this video was helpful for you to create the database of your own. Remember to always stop the resource whenever you are not in need, otherwise it will incur the cost. But if you want to learn Azure or any cloud provider, you might have to spend some amount at least to get started. That's it from my side for this video. I hope this video was helpful. Till the next time, bye.